Hey, everybody, welcome to the 9 Minute Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Packer. Thank you very much for joining me. This is episode 15 that we are rolling on with the 9 Minute Podcast, seen on social media sites in your friendly neighborhood area: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and anything else that we can find will be on there. I I heard a story that I know is absolutely true. Okay. This happened to a friend of mine. And this story, it just proves the point that you really, if you say, especially if you're a minister, if I believe God told me to do this, or I believe, I believe, I'm being led of the Holy Spirit to go do this. You better make sure that this is true, because if you don't, you could end up in a very hilarious comedic situation. Okay. So the caption that I put here, is episode 15 is naked in the church. I'm gonna explain it to you. All right. Let me get a sip of this nice coffee here. So here's the thing. My friend, this has been years ago. He is starting a little fledgling church. Okay. And so they're in an industrial area, but it's right next to where you can look out and see the city that he pastors in. All right. So he has the building that has become his church. Is the front half of it is office area, and then the back half is just a big open garage. So what they did was they turned the office area, they had an area for, welcoming, and they had a classroom, and then they had a little room that they turned into a nursery. He had an office there. Then you go into the back half where the open garage is, and they sealed up the garage door and turned all of that into the sanctuary. So he probably had a big Sunday was like maybe 40 people. Okay. First of all, he's very sincere. He's a very good guy. I asked him if it was okay to tell his story, and he said, yes, just don't mention my name. All right. So he says, you know, he's watching all these guys on video. He's watching the big shots that I talk about, um, and that people tell me I'm jealous of, and that's why I talk about them. Not because they're possibly wrong about anything, I'm jealous. Okay, fine. So he says, I heard one of these guys say, I went to the highest point in the city. I looked out over the city and I prayed and I said, Lord, send the people in. Just send them in. And he said, of course, the guy's testimony was the church exploded. So my friend says, I'm going to do that. Now, this is a very important part of the story, okay? His church building was run by, before he took it over, it was run by a furniture company, and they had dogs that stayed in that building. And apparently the dogs had fleas. So the church was cleaned out, or the building was cleaned out and fumigated, but the old furniture is sitting outside next to the dumpster. The dumpster is on the edge of the hill. The hill is where you stand to look out over the city. Okay? So my friend goes over there, and he said it's nighttime. He goes over there and he stands and looks out over the edge of the city and starts praying, Lord, send them in, send them in, send them in, send them in. And meanwhile, what happens is the furniture is full of fleas. And the next thing he says, as he's standing up there being so spiritual, saying, Lord, send them in, he feels like he's getting bit on his leg, and he looks down, and he says, under the street lamp, he looks and he can see fleas jumping. They have gotten all over him. So now he runs into the church. Okay. He runs into the church, into where the sanctuary is, because that's right there, and the restrooms are connected off of there. And he's like, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to try to drown these fleas. So he takes off all of his clothes in the sanctuary. Now he's standing there naked in the church. He turns on the water in the sink, goes in and is putting his clothes in the sink. I'm like, what were you trying to do? He said, I don't know. I thought I'd drown them. Now, he realizes this isn't working, because he says to me, Scotty, you don't understand. In the water, they were just floating all over the place and jumping. He said, it was crazy. I stood out there. I'm trying to do this thing. I'm doing what I believe the Lord told me to do. Call the people in and save my city. Bring them into the church. And he says, man, there's fleas all over me. Okay. So now he leaves his clothes. He leaves them in the sink. He's got his other clothes laying all over the sanctuary. He runs to the front where they put up some curtains, pulls the curtains down, wraps himself up, and looks like, he's going to an African wedding with a wrap on. I mean, he goes home, changes clothes, goes to the store, buys some fumigators, goes back, fumigates the church out. And he's like, man, all of that because I thought that's what God wanted me to do. And I thought to myself how hilarious it is that, I told him afterwards, I said, bruh, why didn't you just, do like a visitation program? It would have been much easier, and you would have never been naked in the church. I mean, do a visitation program, go out and meet the people in the community. Maybe do something at your church and invite the community to come, give away clothes, hopefully not full of fleas. I mean, this whole thing is just, it's, but these things happen. And we say, well, the Lord told me to do it. Do I believe the Lord told him to do that? I don't know what lesson you could possibly learn from being eaten up by fleas. Now you're naked in the church trying to get rid of all these. He said they were everywhere. Whew. Man, and imagine if his deacons had just known what was going on. Could you imagine if one of the deacons had walked in there and he was standing there naked in the church? I'm trying to get rid of fleas. He would have been gone after that. Oh, we have to be careful. We really, really do in this world. Because if ministers and leaders do things and God really didn't tell them to do it, that's a humorous story. But we have a generation of people that are messed up. We really have to be careful with people's souls. God is going to tell us to minister to them and build them up, not mess them up, and not get fleas either.